Good evening, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Welcome to Newsnight. India woke up to disturbing images of people gasping for breath and lying unconscious in some villages near Visakhapatnam. It was a case of toxic styrene gas leakage from a nearby polymers factory. The administration is in control of the situation now. In the show today, we will focus on what happened in Vizag and how such tragedies can perhaps be averted. We will also take stock of coronavirus outbreak in the country and the world, even as India launched the mega Vande Bharat mission to rescue fellow countrymen stranded abroad. All that and more. First, the headlines. Styrene gas leak from polymer factory near Visakhapatnam kills 11 persons, around 250 families evacuated. Many people critical, situation now under control. Specialized NDRF team stationed at the accident site. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds meeting of NDMA officials in the wake of Vizag gas leak, speaks to Andhra Chief Minister Jagmohan Reddy and assures all possible help. Chief Minister visits the accident site, announces ex gratia of ₹1 crore, next of kin of those who lost their lives. Visakhapatnam police registers FIR against LG Polymers factory for negligence. Andhra Pradesh government directs investigation in the matter, says guilty in the gas leak case will not be spared. India begins the biggest evacuation exercise, Vande Bharat mission. First flight carrying 177 passengers takes off from Abu Dhabi. Another plane takes off from Dubai, INS Jalashwa, to rescue Indians stranded in Maldives through the sea route. In an exclusive interview to DD News, Union Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri says nearly 190,000 stranded Indians have registered for evacuation. Also informs that the aviation sector in India will be opened in a phased and calibrated manner once the situation normalizes. Prime Minister Modi participates in the virtual Vesak Global celebrations, salutes Corona warriors around the world for working round the clock to serve the humanity during the pandemic. In the ongoing COVID outbreak, 15,266 patients cured and discharged in India. Total active cases of COVID-19 rise to 35,902. Deaths toll due to pandemic reaches 1,783. And coronavirus cases across the world rise to over 37 lakhs, with over 2,64,000 deaths reported so far. USA, Britain, Italy, Spain, France worst affected. And now our top story. At least 11 persons were killed and hundreds taken ill when gas leaked from a chemical plant in Visakhapatnam in early hours today and quickly spread to villages nearby. The toxic styrene gas leaked around 2:30 a.m. from the multinational LG Polymers plant at RR Venkatapuram village. Many people could be seen gasping for breath as they staggered to safety. Scores of people were also seen lying unconscious on the sidewalks and near ditches, raising fears of a major industrial disaster. NDRF rushed to the spot and rescued several families. Prime Minister and Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister took stock of the situation. The situation, as of now, is in control and a specialized team is monitoring the site.
These visuals are from RR Venkatapuram village near Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, where a major gas leak accident took place at the LG Polymers factory. The toxic styrene gas leak took place in the wee hours of Thursday when people in the nearby areas were fast asleep. According to the authorities, the gas leak impacted many villages in the radius of few kilometers. People coming in contact with the gas complained of breathlessness and other symptoms. The affected people were taken to the hospitals. While some died due to the toxic gas, many are still in critical condition. National Disaster Response Force, or the NDRF, has rescued 250 families from the nearby villages. People living in 3-kilometer radius of the plant have been evacuated to safer places. NDRF has now said that the situation is under control.
So as of now, things are under control. I would say that the leakage situation is much better now, in the sense that the silo that was leaking is now down to minimal, and there is hardly any leakage there.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi took stock of the situation and has assured all possible assistance to State Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy. Prime Minister also chaired a meeting of the National Disaster Management Authority to assess the latest situation.
Honorable Prime Minister chaired a meeting of the National Disaster Management Authority, which he is the chairperson of. He took stock of the situation on the ground, as well as the response that has happened so far and the response that is required from across the board.
After the meeting, Prime Minister's Principal Secretary P.K. Mishra reviewed the situation with top government officials. In the review meeting with Cabinet Secretary, Home Secretary, NDMA, NDRF, Director AIMS and medical experts, Mishra directed that a team of experts be sent to the spot. A team with expertise in chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear accidents has been stationed in the affected area. Besides, a CBRN team has been sent from Pune.
We are also mobilizing from the central government specialized technical support to assist the medical practitioners in the area who may not have dealt with this kind of chemical emergency. How do you deal with people who have exposed from the medical perspective?
Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy visited the accident site and reviewed the situation. He also met the victims of the gas leak accident. Jagan Mohan Reddy announced an ex gratia payment of Rs 1 crore each to the next of kin of those killed. A committee has also been formed to investigate the accident. The state government will also talk to the company, the LG Polymer, to demand jobs for family members of those who were killed due to gas leak. Meanwhile, AIMS Director Randeep Guleria has said that those who have received high exposure of the gas have shown symptoms. However, in most cases, that is not fatal.
By and large, it tends to be an illness which is not universally fatal. In most people, there is good recovery. It causes more irritation of the airways, and depending on the degree of exposure, the effect can be much higher. So those who have had a very close exposure, they are the ones who have a higher chance of having severe effects.
President Ramnath Kovind expressed grief over the accident. He tweeted, "Saddened by the news of gas leak in a plant near Visakhapatnam which has claimed several lives. My condolences to the families of the victims. I pray for the recovery of the injured and the safety of all." Home Minister Amit Shah also expressed grief over the accident. He tweeted, "The incident in Vizag is disturbing. Have spoken to the NDMA officials and concerned authorities. We are continuously and closely monitoring the situation. I pray for the well-being of people of Visakhapatnam." Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also tweeted, "Painful news from Visakhapatnam. I am deeply pained by the loss of lives due to the tragic incident. My thoughts are with the bereaved families. I pray for the safety and well-being of all the people in Visakhapatnam." The situation around the gas leak site is in control as of now, and steps are being considered to avert such accidents in future. With Suresh Kadela in Visakhapatnam and Sudhir Yadav in Delhi, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And that brings us to the issue in focus this evening: Vizag gas accident, tragedy and the way forward. This is the issue that we're going to be focused and discussing. And joining us are two special guests online with us. First, Mr. S.N. Pradhan, DG NDRF. Welcome, sir. Also, Mr. Kamal Kishore, member NDMA. Welcome to both of you gentlemen. First, compliments to you and your teams for swiftly handling the situation that perhaps could have gone worse. Mr. Pradhan, I'll come to you first. Since morning, disturbing images poured in. What was the ground situation like, if you could give us an insight, when your team first reached the site? So I'll beg your pardon. My team will have to check the audio. We're not getting the audio in the studio. If I can just request my team to check the audio for a moment. Yeah, if you could just repeat your response, and my team, if you could just check the audio coming in the studio. Please, Mr. Pradhan, go on.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's fine now, sir. Please carry on.
Okay. What I was trying to tell you is
Yes.
that around 2:30, the first reports came into the local police station and the local administration in Visakhapatnam. And the local police, the local fire services and the local administration rushed to the spot. But they must have tried for 2 to 3.5 hours. And after that, the NDRF was informed, which is placed by default in Visakhapatnam as a regional response center, is permanently placed there. And the NDRF team rushed and reached there within half an hour and hit the ground running, so to say, and started the operations both for evacuation and handling the situation on the campus of the LG Polymers. And I think within a couple of hours, the situation was in control. I must compliment the coordination between the SDRF, the local police, the fire services, as well as the NDRF. It was a joint effort.
Right.
And a lot of people were evacuated to the tune of 250 to 300 families. And the situation in the plant was also brought under control. However, in the process, I think those who were very proximal to the gas and inhaled a lot of quantity of the toxic gas succumbed to the gas, and this is what has happened when we get
Right.
the numbers as 11 dead. That is because they must have inhaled it in a larger quantity. But otherwise, those who were critical are now stable, and I hope that there will be no further additions to the casualty figure.
Right. Also, Mr. Pradhan, when you say things are under control, especially at the site, has the leakage been stopped from the factory? That was the point of the tragedy?
Yeah, the leakage is almost stopped. I say almost because I don't want to
Sure.
hazard the guess that it is 100% stopped, because there is some chance of very minimal leakage. The gas is exhausted in any case, but there will be minimal leakage, and that is the nature of the thing. But we have also, as you I think said in the initial report, that there is the inert chemical that is being transported from
Yes.
Daman in Gujarat via a special flight, in which the expert teams are also traveling from Pune, and that chemical will be used to neutralize the whatever lethality is there, balance in the gas. But as of now, I can very clearly say that the gas is much under control,
Okay.
and there is hardly any leakage there. So the situation is actually now the focus is on rehabilitation and revival of those who have been affected by it, and not so much in the plant itself.
Right. Let me turn to Mr. Kamal Kishore, member NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority. Mr. Kishore, if you could give us some more details about the condition of people who are being treated. We did inform our viewers that 11 people have died in this tragedy, but many more who were exposed to this gas are being treated. What are the conditions? How many of them are really in the hospital, and their conditions, sir?
See, the area that is affected, in the core area, about 1,000 people were exposed to the gas, around, thereabouts.
Okay.
In the wider area, many more. Out of these 1,200, around 200 people have required some sort of hospitalization. Most of these 200 have had mild symptoms. Till the last reports arrived, about 25 to 30 were critical, but stable. So we are hoping that we will have a very high rate of recovery among those who are critical right now.
Right. Also, Mr. Kishore, while it is early to perhaps speak very clearly about the cause of the accident because the investigation is still underway, but any initial headway as to what may have caused this leak, and given that there is lockdown and many such infrastructure is in the state of shutdown, what kind of preparation do we have to protect such high-risk infrastructure, sir?
See, as far as managing high-risk infrastructure of this kind is concerned, we have established guidelines
Right.
for several years now, since almost since the beginning that NDMA has been in place. We have guidelines for chemical and industrial disaster management. We have guidelines for chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear sites.
Right.
So there is ample guidance for both doing high-end, sophisticated disaster risk management in these
Right.
high-risk facilities inside the plant, but also off-site. You know, what happens to people who live in the shadow of such potentially hazardous industries.
Which is the case
So
this
there is
time,
ample guidance. We don't necessarily need to revise that guidance in the light of COVID-19. We just need to implement what is already there. In addition to that, in the COVID-19 era, when the plant workers work inside the plant, they now have the additional responsibility to follow social distancing, which of course means that they need to look at how their systems and procedures work, how people so say go to eat in canteens, etc. So all of that has to be done. But the basics of chemical and industrial disaster safety, on that I have to emphasize that we have a lot of guidance. We also have national and international standards. We just need to rigorously and very doggedly implement those standards and guidelines.
Right. And sir, the second part of my question about any headway that we may have on what caused this leakage, this accident.
See, it is very difficult to make an early assessment from a distance, because all industrial plants are unique in their processes. They are very complex processes. There are a number of things which are connected to each other. So until we have a thorough engineering diagnostic of what really happened there, it'll not be correct for me to jump to any early conclusions on why it happened.
Right. Mr. S.N. Pradhan, DG NDRF, I'll turn to you, sir. Now, there were many comparisons through the day of what happened near Vizag to the Bhopal gas tragedy that happened decades ago. Now, as a country, how equipped have we become to handle such industrial and chemical disasters? And again, coming back to my earlier question, what was it for your team to go to a sensitive, a risky place like this, which NDRF is professionally equipped to do? What was it for your team to handle a chemical leakage case like this at the site? Mr. Pradhan.
Well, the first point about the situation that has changed over the years and the distance we have traveled from the situation of a Bhopal gas tragedy almost 20 plus years ago and now.
Yeah.
I must say that the government and the country itself has taken giant strides in the setting up of a disaster management ecosystem. And since the last half a decade or so, we have been very, very proactive and treated, the government has treated, the central government and the state governments have also been roped in to treat disasters as a seamless challenge for cooperative federalism. So I think it's a beautiful template of cooperative federalism in action. And you saw the example of Cyclone Phony, where the central agencies which predicted, the state agencies which really acted on spot, the NDRF reached 15 days in advance and stayed for 1 month after the cyclone. Everybody came together, sans borders, and really worked together. So I think this template has happened because the central government has taken disaster response as a governance response, and it also as a response where borders cannot be drawn and state and center has to be on the same side. So I think being on the same page has made matters very, very efficient. There is always room for improvement, I admit that. But to come back to NDRF, NDRF has the USP of being efficient in terms of, or being trained in terms of all the verticals of disasters, whether it is chemical, biological, radiological or nuclear disasters, whether it is collapsed structures in earthquakes and other situations, whether it is aquatic disasters like floods and cyclones, whether it is altitude disasters, any kind of disaster vertical we are trained with, And I must flag, this is a matter of pride for the country, that this is a unique force where all the personnel are trained and multi-skilled, and they are also medical first responders who can handle the pre-hospital treatment of even a heart patient. They have even done deliveries. So I think there is a long distance we have traveled, and India should be proud of its scientists, the prediction agencies, the Ministry of Earth Sciences, which does all the prediction.
Right.
We must be proud of the fact that we have chemical, biological, radiological experts, and as we speak today, the team that has traveled from Pune, along with the chemical consignment which is going to be used to neutralize the possible further gas leakage
Okay.
or balance gas leakage, and the scientists which have just been picked up from Nagpur, 3 scientists who are chemical scientists. See, the entire central team is going in assistance of the state government, and they are going to sit together, put their heads together, and work out not only a roadmap for the present situation, but also for the further situation, which could be a template for all other states. So this is, I think, a beautiful, seamless example of cooperative federalism in action.
Certainly.
And I think we should be very proud of that. Yes, we have traveled a long way from the Bhopal gas disaster times, and I'm the first one to admit that there is always room for improvement. But whatever distance we have traveled, I think we should be very proud of that.
Certainly, Mr. Pradhan. Also, we understand there's been a significant evacuation of people living in the nearby villages of a radius about 3 to 5 kilometers. If you could give us some update, how did they participate in this evacuation? What was their status? Was there panic? In what manner did NDRF reach out to them and the evacuation taking place?
Well, I think I'll start with the point of panic. Yes, I think it is understandable that when a situation like this arises in several years, it's not a common occurrence.
It's rare.
There is bound to be some panic, and the villagers did panic, and there was, because the scenes were a little disturbing, because people were collapsing because of the noxious gas. So this vision itself was disturbing for others who were standing by. So yes, initially it was there was an element of panic.
Okay.
But again, as we speak, the NDRF team, along with the local police and the local fire services, is going around in all the villages nearby, announcing that everything is back to normal and there is nothing to worry and there is nothing to panic about. This is the communication that is required from the governance point of view, from the local government point of view, and for the people. And that reassurance level, I think, will settle things down. And to come back to your question of evacuation, yes, it was a combined effort. The state police, the state administration, the local district administration, led by the district magistrate and the SP, they did a wonderful job.
Right.
And NDRF pitched in with all the assistance and expertise. And I think at the end of the day, yes, I would venture to say that I think a combined effort has saved the situation from being much worse than what it is.
Right. Mr. Kamal Kishore, let me turn to you, sir. Now, for a industrial disaster, that if I may use the phrase a man-made disaster like this, we informed our viewers that an FIR has been registered against the concerned company, LG Polymers. But how is accountability really placed in such industrial disasters when so many innocent lives are at risk?
So I think on the industrial safety, and particularly with regards to this kind of emergency, there is a very strong accountability framework in the country. And as I said earlier, on all aspects of industrial safety, we have enough guidance, enough technical guidance for chemical industries. We have enough regulation. We have enough standards. All of the chemicals that we use, all of those chemicals, how they have to be handled when there is any kind of leak, how do we deal with that, what is the antidote, all of that has been rigorously documented. That documentation, that systems and procedures are all laid out. I think we have to do an even more rigorous job of actually implementing it. And of course, we have to enforce the accountability frameworks to make sure that that implementation really happens. There are two dimensions to it. One is what happens inside the plant. There is also offsite. So all the 700 plus districts in the country are supposed to have a district disaster management plan. It is very important that all district disaster management plans have a plotting of where chemical industries are.
Okay.
And
Each
what
of the
is the
districts,
kind of
right.
threat that could potentially emanate from that, and how the communities need to respond to that. That preparedness has to be built in before something happens, not after something happens. So
Right,
we
sir.
have
Also-
a system, you
Yeah.
know, we have detailed guidelines from NDMA on how to do the district disaster management plan and how to embed the notion of chemical disaster safety in it.
Right, sir. Also, you did mention that a specialized team from Pune is reaching Visakhapatnam for a proper cleansing, sanitization of the place. But do we have any insight, considering that some 250 families have been evacuated? How long before it will be safe for people to return to their homes? Mr. Kishore, if you could take
See,
that.
as far as the thank you. It's as far as the gas itself is concerned, as Mr. Pradhan noted, the release is been reduced to minimal. In addition, the NDRF teams as well as the fire department locally has done enough work in terms of sprinkling of water, etc., to
Right.
contain, to sort of keep the temperature low of the gas, and the gas itself should dissipate within 6 to 7 hours. But then there are a number of things in terms of what is the built environment there, etc., etc. So the purpose of this technical team would be to make sure that there is no trace beyond a certain level, beyond acceptable level
Right.
of the gas there. It's thoroughly decontaminated so that people can be de-evacuated, they can go back to their homes.
All right. On that note, Mr. S.N. Pradhan,
And
Mr. Kamal
one-
Kishore, thanks very much for joining us today in this discussion and giving us those insights, and compliments once again to you and your teams for handling a challenge like this. Moving on, the biggest ever evacuation exercise by air and sea route will to bring back around 15,000 Indians stranded abroad. Under the Vande Bharat mission, 64 flights between 14 Indian cities and 12 foreign countries will bring back some over 14,000 people in the first phase. Today was the day one of the evacuation plan. Over 360 Indians, including pregnant women, children, were evacuated. Around 1,000 people are going to be rescued by naval ships such as INS Jalashwa and INS Magar. The army is also helping in the rescue plan. Here's more.
India has launched Vande Bharat mission, its biggest ever evacuation exercise in decades. The nation has deployed a raft of civilian aircraft and naval ships to bring back home thousands of Indians stranded in the Gulf and various other parts of the world. The mission formally started on Thursday with nation pressing naval ships and civilian aircrafts on the mission.
We have conceptualized and designed this scheme, which you called a mega evacuation plan. I heard the term used, it's a Herculean effort, but I think if you look at the numbers, it is quite easily the most ambitious and comprehensive scheme and framework and process to bring back Indian citizens who are in distress or stranded in different parts of the world. The original working number that we based this scheme on was something like 190,000 people.
On the first day of the mission, a total of 368 Indian nationals, including 11 pregnant women and a pair of twins, will return home in the first two flights from the UAE to Kerala. An Air India Express flight, which is scheduled to take off from Abu Dhabi to Kochi, is the first flight which is bringing back 179 stranded passengers. The pilot team is elated to be part of such an important exercise.
This mission Vande Bharat, which is being organized by Government of India to bring back our stranded fellow countrymen back to India, I take this privilege to represent my company Air India Express, which goes by the mission of simply priceless.
The crew members are also very excited to be part of the first flight of this mammoth exercise.
Team, we are a group, we are fully trained and we are fully all prepared to evacuate all the passengers out there, and we all are together as one and we will help all the passengers out there.
The second flight will bring back 189 nationals to Kozhikode from Dubai. 76 passengers will be sent straight to home quarantine. Meanwhile, under Operation Samudra Setu, 2 naval ships have been dispatched to Maldives' capital Malé to commence the first phase of the evacuation operations from May 8th. A total of 1,000 people are planned to be evacuated in the first trip in naval ships INS Jalashwa and INS Magar. On evacuating stranded Indians abroad, CDS Bipin Rawat said that as per the government directive, the army is helping in evacuation plan. He added that the army will continue to give its best in view of the corona crisis.
It is a concerted effort, a joint effort of the government to see how we can support evacuation of our citizens who are stranded abroad. So while the Minister of Civil Aviation has given out the plan as to how evacuation will be carried out by aircraft, the Navy has also chipped in, Indian Navy, because we do have ships which can go into the neighboring countries, particularly on the Indian Ocean Rim region.
Air India will operate 64 flights from May 7th to May 13th to bring back around 15,000 Indian nationals stranded abroad amid the COVID-19 induced lockdown. The government has meanwhile said that if situation improves, the domestic flights will be started in a calibrated manner.
Civil aviation is only a small segment of this decision which remains to be taken. The decision has to be on full resumption of economic activity. Clearly, when the time comes to take the decision, you will have to take the decision also in respect to surface transportation, railways, metro system and civil aviation. Now you cannot conduct air operations between 2 red zones. Clearly, the air operations will have to be thought through, and initially they will have to be confined to those areas which are not affected or are in the green zone. But you'll have to be very careful because you know the color of these zones can also change.
The government has also been closely monitoring the situation with respect to effect of COVID-19 pandemic on its citizens abroad and is pulling out all stops to ensure that the stranded nationals are provided with safe and secured journey back home. With Arun Sharma in Delhi, Thiruvananthapuram Bureau, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And the first batch of Indians evacuated as part of Vande Bharat mission are from UAE. Indians living in Dubai expressed their gratitude to the Government of India. Indian missions abroad are working overtime round the clock in respective nations to make this mission a success. Here's more from Dubai.
Vande Bharat mission, the mammoth exercise of evacuating stranded Indians abroad, has begun. The initial batch of citizens flying back home are from the UAE. Consul General of India in Dubai supervised the repatriation plan. The Health Authority of Dubai has also extended valuable help in screening of the travellers. The Consul General also interacted with the passengers.
150 you got the call from the consulate. And you were on visit visa or you had visited? And now your pregnancy? You're pregnant?
Indians living in Dubai expressed their deep gratitude to the Government of India for its sincere approach to help them.
I'm pregnant with 33 weeks. On June 20th is my due date. I applied registered in Indian Embassy consulate. Everybody is very cooperative to us.
Thank you, India government and the embassy, Norca, Kerala government, everyone.
The Consul General of India further informed that the first batch of passengers is being sent from Dubai. Local administration of Dubai has extended its full support in evacuation process.
So I'm very happy that the first flight from Dubai to India is going today. And of course this is going from Dubai to Kozhikode. We have 177 passengers and the Dubai authorities have set up this very nice facility for people to go through the IgM test.
Indians stranded in Abu Dhabi also reached the airport while all due procedures were followed. Among the passengers were many pregnant women who expressed happiness at the prospect of returning to their homeland.
Due to pregnancy, I'm going to Kerala now. Very thankful to the Indian Embassy.
Indian Ambassador to the UAE, Pawan Kapoor, is taking stock of the entire arrangements. He assured that all standard operating procedures are being followed during the evacuation plan.
Lucky to have the support of the UAE government, their Ministry of Foreign Affairs, their Civil Aviation authorities, and of course their Department of Health, who are conducting tests here today before the passengers board the flights. Even in India, it's been a whole of government approach to this. We've had our Ministry of Civil Aviation, our Ministry of Health, our Ministry of Home Affairs, and of course our Ministry of External Affairs, who all work together to make this start. And we hope that this process carries on smoothly.
The Indian government is doing its best to bring back stranded Indians abroad, and the Indian missions in these respective nations are working overtime to facilitate smooth journey back home. With inputs from Kanchan Prasad in Dubai, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Begins to evacuate Indians who are stranded in this outbreak of coronavirus. Indians who are stranded in different parts of the world. That mission has now started today. Happens to be day one. We'll try and understand broadly what this mission Vande Bharat is all about. Well, it is the biggest rescue of stranded Indians abroad. Never before have in these numbers, in this scale, has such a rescue mission been done. It's also an unprecedented challenge, the outbreak of COVID-19. Nearly 2 lakh Indians, some 1,90,000 have registered to be rescued in the phase 1 that has started today. It's going to be a week-long thing. Over 14,800 Indians are going to be rescued in the coming week. It's going to be phase 1. Also in phase 1, how will it happen? Some 64 flights between 14 Indian cities and 12 countries, the countries where Indians are stranded. The flights will commute to rescue the Indians. Also, the sea route is going to be used to rescue Indians. INS Jalashwa and also Magar are evacuating Indians through various nations such as Maldives. So both air route and the sea route is being used to rescue Indians from wherever they may be stranded. It's not going to be very direct. Self-assessment and medical screening is being done to make sure that the COVID-19 outbreak is also kept in mind. There's no risk of infection spread. Only asymptomatic people will be allowed to board. Asymptomatic are people who do not have any symptoms of COVID-19 as such. Safety measures will be followed in the flights as well. Social distancing that we keep talking about to keep COVID-19 at bay will be followed in the flights as well. When they arrive, the Indians, our fellow countrymen, will be asked to download Arogya Setu app. Remember, it is very crucial to maintain social distancing. The app helps in and contact tracing. There's going to be a 14-day hospital or institutional quarantine depending upon the situation, their health condition of the Indians. After the quarantine period is over of 14 days, there's going to be testing to see if they have contracted, there's any contraction of coronavirus. If the test is negative, then the concerned person will be allowed to proceed further to their respective hometown. So this is broadly how Vande Bharat mission is going to unfold, but the mega rescue operation has begun. So this was the broad outlook of how this mission will take forward. Both air and waterways, sea routes are going to be used. We're heading for a short break. Lots more coming up on Newsnight. Stay with us.
Can I have some bhujia? Thank you.
BYOB. Huh? Bring your own bhujia.
Amaji loves Bikaji, loves Bikaji.
आग तो हर वायर पकड़ती है, पर सिर्फ आरआर काबिल फायर एक्सपायर ना आग फैलाए ना काला जहरीला धुआं। मेरी मानो, अकलमंद बनो और सही चुनो।
दुनिया में कई काम बड़े मुश्किल है, जैसे कि चंद मिनटों में चांद पर पहुंचना, टूथपेस्ट में पेस्ट को वापस डालना। और भैया एक काम है जो है बेहद आसान। अरे भाई वही आधार कार्ड में अपना एड्रेस अपडेट करना। इसके लिए बस आपको UIDAI की वेबसाइट पे जाना है, अपना आधार नंबर डालकर OTP जनरेट करना है, फिर फॉर्म में OTP डालकर अपडेट एड्रेस कर कंफर्म करना है और लो हो गया आपका आधार में एड्रेस अपडेट। आप भी आधार अपना लो, फायदे में रहोगे।
Welcome back. You're watching Newsnight. The Indian Railways has operated 171 Shramik special trains since May 1st and ferried home over 1.7 lakh migrants stranded in various parts of the country due to the coronavirus-induced lockdown. While 22 such trains have already departed on Thursday, 26 more trains are scheduled to run by tonight, including the first train to originate from New Delhi carrying some 1,200 migrant workers to Madhya Pradesh. The workers are relieved at the same time after reaching their home state.
As the union government allowed movement of migrant workers stranded across the nation, many have been successfully sent to their native places. Migrant workers of Jharkhand have started returning safely to their homes by special trains. 1,161 migrant workers from Ludhiana in Punjab reached Daltonganj in Jharkhand on Thursday using the Shramik special train. The workers expressed gratitude towards government for their safe return.
पैसा नहीं लिया है, फ्री में जांच हुआ, फ्री में बस 16 फिर ले गया, वहाँ से बस 16 फिर ट्रेन में छोड़ा और इसके बाद ताकि से स्वागत किया।
सर सरकार की तरफ से बहुत अच्छी मिली है, बहुत खुश है हम लोग। सरकार को ये कहना चाहता हूँ, लाख लाख शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ।
Meanwhile, 1,200 workers also reached their native places from Bengaluru. After health checkups on the railway station, they were given masks and sanitizers. Prioritizing the social distancing, over 40 buses were arranged for their onward travel to the hometowns. Nearly 900 labourers also reached their home state from Ghatkesar in Telangana.
जब से लॉकडाउन रहा तब से परेशानी ही रहा। उसके बाद जब आने का सुविधा मिला तो अच्छा रहा अभी। घर लौट के अच्छा लग रहा है।
Carrying 1,198 migrant workers, another special train from Surat in Gujarat reached Dhanbad. These workers are from Giridih, Deoghar, Kodarma, Hazaribagh, Jamtara, Simdega, Saraikela, Palamu, Latehar, Gharwa and Chhatra districts of Jharkhand. With the constant support from central government, states and local administration of the receiving districts are fully prepared to provide assistance to the workers coming from different parts of the country. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
We'll now take a look at how the people in the remote areas of Arunachal Pradesh are coping with everyday essential requirements and food supplies in this lockdown period. In the time of distress, government agencies with the help of other organizations are working round the clock so that the chain of essential supply is maintained even in the remotest region. A report from our Itanagar correspondent.
Arunachal Pradesh is synonymous with lush green hills filled with natural flora and fauna, but several areas in this hilly region are very difficult to reach due to the lack of proper road network or very poor existing infrastructure not able to bear movement of vehicles. Several parts of the state bordering Myanmar and China are in unreachable zone. Since lockdown, needy people getting free food grain, LPG cylinders through schemes like Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. About 13 airfed areas are in the state where rice, pulses, medical supplies were being provided through helicopters of Indian Air Force and a private helicopter operator. In spite of all the hardships, essential supplies are reaching at their destination on time and more food supply on their way to their respective destinations.
ज़्यादातर जो है हम लोग का चावल है, आटा है, दाल है और कुछ चीज़ जो है आपको मेडिकल रिलेटेड आइटम्स है, वो बिहार से, यूपी से, महाराष्ट्र से, बंगाल से, दिल्ली से आते हैं और वो सब जितना भी आता है यहाँ कोई भी ऐसे कोई भी चीज़ का कमियाँ नहीं हुआ। जितना ज़रूरत है सभी को हम लोग मुहैया किया पब्लिक को।
संजय प्रताप सिंह, DD News, Itanagar.
And let's now take a look at the latest numbers of COVID-19 cases from across the country. The total number of confirmed cases as it stands is 52,952. These are total cases, of which active cases of COVID-19 across the country stand at 35,902. A total of 15,266 people have been cured. They've been discharged so far, taking the total recovery rate to over 28%, 28.72%. A total of 1,783 people have unfortunately lost their lives. Maharashtra continues to be the hardest hit state with a total of 16,758 cases. Gujarat has reported 6,625 cases, while 5,532 cases have been reported in the national capital, Delhi. Meanwhile, the special team constituted by the Union Health Ministry, headed by Joint Health Secretary Love Agarwal, has reached Mumbai today. The team of experts includes emergency medical doctors, including Dr. P. Ravindran, Director Emergency Medical Relief, and Nodal J.S. Kunal. And AIIMS Director Dr. Randeep Guleria has said that if people remain committed to social distancing norms and follow the given guidelines, the nation will not see the peak in cases of COVID-19 and also win the war against the pandemic.
नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल ग्रुप्स ने मॉडलिंग डेटा किया है वेरिंग की अभी केसेस अगर बढ़ते रहे तो हो सकता है कि हम मई के एंड में जून जुलाई या अगस्त तक कभी भी केसेस और बढ़ के पीक हो सकता है। ये भी बात हो सकती है कि अगर हम एग्रेसिवली काम करें, सब लोग मिलके हॉटस्पॉट्स को फोकस करें, सिटीजन्स और लोग जो हैं वो अपनी तरफ से रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी समझें, तो केसेस आस्ता आस्ता खुद कम होने लगे और हमारी पीक इतनी हो ही ना, और या तो हमारी पीक जो है वो कम होना अपने आप ही शुरू हो जाए और एक हमारा पीक जो हम कहते हैं वो ज़्यादातर ना हो। इसके लिए सब लोगों की भागीदारी बहुत ज़रूरी है।
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephone conversation with Charles Michel, President of European Council. The two leaders discussed the situation of and responses to COVID-19 pandemic in India and European Union. They appreciated mutual cooperation extended in the face of the pandemic, including ensuring supplies of essential pharmaceutical products. The leaders recognized the importance of regional and global coordination to effectively address the health and economic impact of COVID-19. The leaders also reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening India-EU strategic partnership. They agreed that their officials would work together to prepare a substantive agenda for the next India-EU summit meeting. The leaders agreed to remain in touch in the evolving dimension of the crisis as well as post-COVID context. Those were some of the highlights of the conversation between the EU President and Prime Minister Modi. And PM Narendra Modi today participated in the virtual Vesak Global Celebrations and delivered the keynote address on the occasion of Buddha Purnima. Prime Minister extended praise for observing this festival as Prayers Week, dedicating it to health workers and other such people fighting COVID-19 pandemic across the world. He also expressed hope that we will be able to bring humanity out of this tough challenge and reduce problems of people with coordinated efforts.
बुद्ध वो है जो स्वयं को तपाकर, स्वयं को खपाकर, खुद को न्योछावर करके पूरी दुनिया में आनंद फैलाने के लिए समर्पित है। और हम सभी का सौभाग्य देखिए, इस समय हम अपने आसपास ऐसे अनेकों लोगों को देख रहे हैं जो दूसरों की सेवा के लिए, किसी मरीज के इलाज के लिए, किसी गरीब को भोजन कराने के लिए, किसी अस्पताल में सफाई के लिए, किसी सड़क पर कानून व्यवस्था बनाए रखने के लिए 2400 घंटे काम कर रहे हैं। भारत में, भारत के बाहर ऐसा प्रत्येक व्यक्ति, विश्व के हर कोने में ऐसा प्रत्येक व्यक्ति अभिनंदन का पात्र है, नमन का पात्र है।
And Prime Minister assured that India stands strongly with the world in these times of crisis. He added that this is the reason that many countries remember India during the pandemic.
आज आप भी देख रहे हैं कि भारत निस्वार्थ भाव से, बिना किसी भेद के अपने यहाँ भी और पूरे विश्व में कहीं भी संकट में घिरे व्यक्ति के साथ पूरी मजबूती से खड़ा है। लाभ हानि, समर्थ असमर्थ से अलग हमारे लिए संकट की ये घड़ी सहायता करने की है, जितना संभव हो मदद का हाथ आगे बढ़ाने की है। यही कारण है कि विश्व के अनेक देशों ने भारत को इस मुश्किल समय में याद किया और भारत ने भी हर जरूरतमंद तक पहुंचने में कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी है। भारत आज प्रत्येक भारतवासी का जीवन बचाने के लिए हर संभव प्रयास तो कर ही रहा है, अपने वैश्विक दायित्वों का भी उतनी ही गंभीरता से पालन कर रहा है।
And terming Buddha as the symbol of both realization of India and self-realization of the country, Prime Minister said India is working in the interest of the world and would continue doing so for the humanity.
बुद्ध भारत के बोध और भारत के आत्मबोध दोनों का प्रतीक है। इसी आत्मबोध के साथ भारत निरंतर पूरी मानवता के लिए पूरे विश्व के हित में काम कर रहा है और करता रहेगा। भारत की प्रगति हमेशा विश्व की प्रगति में सहायक होगी। साथियों, हमारी सफलता के पैमाने और लक्ष्य दोनों समय के साथ बदलते रहते हैं, लेकिन जो बात हमें हमेशा ध्यान रखनी है वो ये कि हमारा काम निरंतर सेवा भाव से ही होना चाहिए।
Some other news now. Security forces in Jammu and Kashmir launched 27 operations and eliminated some 64 terrorists since January this year. Addressing the media in Jammu and Kashmir, Kashmir Range Police IG Vijay Kumar added that 25 active terrorists were arrested in the valley while busting many of their hideouts.
इस ईयर जनवरी 2020 से पिछले 4 महीना में हम लोग लगभग 27 ऑपरेशन लॉन्च किए। इस ऑपरेशन में जे&के पुलिस ने स्पेसिफिक इंटेलिजेंस गैदर किया और पुलिस, आर्मी, सीआरपी लेकर ज्वाइंट ऑपरेशन लॉन्च किया गया। इन सारे ऑपरेशंस में लगभग 64 मिलिटेंट्स मारे गए, जिसमें 3 बहुत बड़े कमांडर मारे गए। इसके साथ साथ लगभग हम लोग 25 मिलिटेंट्स को, एक्टिव मिलिटेंट्स को अरेस्ट किए। 125 OGW को अरेस्ट किया गया, इंट्रोगेट किया गया और बहुत सारे हम लोग जो हाइडेड को बस्ट किए हैं। बहुत सारे ग्रेनेड और मिलिटेंट्स का जो मॉड्यूल था, खास करके LET का सोपुर एरिया में, उसको बस्ट किए। उसके इन्फॉर्मेशन से LC के पास से काफ़ी आर्म्स हमसे रिकवर किया गया।
And terming the counter-terrorist operations against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir as a continuous process, Jammu and Kashmir Police DGP Dilbagh Singh said that only aim of Pakistan-sponsored terror is to create disturbance and cause loss of life and property in the region.
टेररिस्ट ऑपरेशन जो जहाँ पर चल रहे हैं पाकिस्तान स्पॉन्सर्ड मिलिटेंसी के चलते, वो एक कंटिन्यूस प्रोसेस है। इसमें कभी अप्स डाउन्स भी आते हैं, कभी आपको कामयाबी मिलती है, कभी आपको निराशा भी मिलती है। मगर एक बात तो तय है कि पाकिस्तान स्पॉन्सर्ड जो जहाँ पर टेररिज्म चल रहा है, चाहे वो लश्कर तौबा की तरफ से हो, जैश ए मोहम्मद की तरफ से हो, हिजबुल मुजाहिदीन की तरफ से हो, उसका एक और एक मकसद है कि जहाँ पर लोगों की जानो माल का नुकसान करना, जहाँ पर अमन को ख़राब करना, जहाँ पर लोगों की ज़िंदगियों के साथ खिलवाड़ करना। और इसके उल्ट हमारी जिम्मेवारियां ये हैं कि जहां पर अमन व अमान को बहाल करें, लोगों की ज़िंदगी जो मामूल के मुताबिक चले और लोगों की जानो माल की हिफाजत करें और साथ साथ अपनी सुरक्षा का भी ख्याल रखें।
Now, in some good news of optimism from Blackpool, England, a mother who had given a 50% survival chance and a newborn baby were discharged from hospital after both fighting COVID-19 infection. Catherine Dawson contracted the virus at 32 weeks pregnant and was later sedated and put on ventilator, with her family unable to visit her. Her baby Ruby Dawson was delivered on April 1st by caesarean section and was born already infected with coronavirus, making her one of the only few babies in the world to be born with the virus, according to the hospital. The pair was cured, they're COVID-free, they were discharged after 37 days in the hospital. They met with the NHS staff, a guard of honour and applause from the hospital workers as they walked out of the building to health. And it is one of the most popular tourist destinations, rarely in Santorini Island in Greece, with its picture postcard views not spilling over with millions of tourists. Now its cobblestone streets, once overflowing, lie empty. Layers of whitewashed houses, crammed together from jutting cliffs and volcanic rock beaches, are silent. Famous for its sunsets, there are no spectators to take in the breathtaking views of the Cycladic island. Tourism is a pillar of Greek economy, bringing in billions of euros each year, employing 1 in 5. Such moving scenes are coming in from across the world. With that, we conclude this edition of Newsnight. Take good care of yourself. Namaskar.